How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video, and today we're going to be continuing our Team Watch series, and up next is Crystal Palace. We're going to take a look at their attacking assets, their defensive assets, as well as what they've been doing in the transfer market to help bolster their squad. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe channel if you're new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, and give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which will be back for the season over on Twitch exclusively. And those will be for the preview and deadline streams, or anything that I might decide that will require a stream or would like a little bit more of a free-flowing atmosphere rather than a fixed video. Now, without further ado, let's check out Palace's attacking assets. So with Crystal Palace, I kind of wanted to talk about the midfielders rather than the forwards. Benteke, Edouard, and Mateta all came in at 5.5 million and potentially could provide some value later on, but there's just so many of them that it's just too hard to kind of differentiate anything right now without seeing a lot of preseason games. But there are players that I do know that are very nicely priced that could, if they see more play, could be very, very handy indeed in the cheaper midfield spots, and that is Eze and Elise. And they both typically can play anywhere across the front three if they want. Elise is more of a wide player out on the right hand side, Eze mainly on the left hand side, but Eze can also play as a number 10 as well, so maybe he will see more play there rather than the likes of Conor Gallagher, who we'll touch on later on in the transfer section, for the reasons as to why that will be. But Palace were kind of just pretty standard attacking wise, nothing too crazy. 61 big chances, which is a little bit on the lower side, I would think, but they did have a lot of shots inside the box, maybe not as quality to make as many big chances as some of like the top teams in the Premier League. 54.62 xG non-penalty, I think, is in the top half, if my memory serves me correctly. But the problem is that they're going up against some pretty good defenses in the opening four. Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City, three of those four. Say Aston Villa at home could be a good fixture for them, but it could be down to just Zaha on his own again, potentially, depending on how those games go. Although Palace did beat Arsenal, and they did take it to them when they played them at Selhurst Park, I believe it was at the end of last season. And I think Zaha is influential in anything that Palace do. I mean, his attacking stats were the best, and he was also on penalties, which is fantastic. And at 7 million, I don't think you're going to find a better price for him, to be honest. I don't think it's literally, he's one of the best priced assets in the game, to be perfectly honest. And he's that step below the 8 million midfielders, and as he should be. But he could be of use if he does catch fire. But I just don't think now is the time, potentially, for Crystal Palace assets just in general. But it's just ones to look out for. I think if Elise gets game time, game in, game out, it's not just like, you know, one game starts, next game plays on the bench, so on and so forth. I think he could be a real talent. And if Eze plays as more like a number 10 and plays in more like the Conor Gallagher role, he could be very, very good as well, and also takes set pieces very, very well as well. So one to keep an eye on when Palace's fixtures get better. I think it's around like game week 8 or 9 when they do, so that maybe that's, you know, first wild card time potentially, or looking to ship out the likes of, you know, Neto or Martinelli when I think their fixtures turn later on after game week 6 onwards, somewhere around that mark. But there is a little bit of a swing, nothing too drastic like we saw last time, where we saw a big drop off and change of fixtures for the big teams. I think one was notably Chelsea, where their fixtures got ridiculously good all of a sudden. So I don't expect anything like that just based on looking at the fixtures. But Palace could be very, very valuable in terms of their price points. We'll have to wait and see what Vieira does in preseason, because he's adding a couple new players here and there. And we'll talk about those when we get to the transfer section and see how they can line up next season. Now, with the attacking assets done and talked about, let's see what defensively Palace have, because they have made one very crucial change which could implement a different style of play for them. So defensively, Palace are just going to be your cheap 4.5 million defenders or goalkeeper in this situation. Mark Gahey and Joachim Andersen were two of the major, basically everything you want in center backs. Both tall, both relatively quick, both good at the tackle, both good at playing out from the back, both good on set pieces. They were very, very solid. For FPL wise, maybe not so much, although I do remember, I think it was Anderson getting some attacking returns towards the end of the season. He got like a couple of flick-ons for some assists. Tyrick Mitchell, not necessarily known for his attacking threat. Defensively, he's very good. He's almost like Wan-Bissaka light, but except in the left-back slot. So he's pretty much got that position nailed down. Maybe he gets a little bit forward more if Eze does play on the left, because he likes to cut inside, which means Mitchell can go in and around the outside for the overlap. The big question here is that who's going to play in goal? Now, Palace have 3 goalkeepers, one of which we'll talk about in the transfer section, but mainly they have Guaita and Butland, who seem to swap in and out of goal towards the end of last season. Now, I'm not saying you're going to start with one of those goalkeepers, but if they have a goalkeeping rotation system there, I don't think that's going to potentially work out. I think their newly signed goalkeeper, again, we'll talk about that in the transfer section, could be the answer to some troubles at times when playing out from the back when the goalkeeper has the ball, because Guaita and Butland are not necessarily the best at distributing the ball and aren't the most comfortable with the ball at their feet. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And also Nathan Ferguson, I would like to mention as well. He's been in FPL for, this will be his 3rd year now, and he's kicked the ball like for 5 minutes basically. He's come back in at 4 million. If he comes in at the right back slot, because he doesn't have much to kind of battle for. Kelly, who we'll talk about, is leaving. Ward isn't the greatest, and Nathaniel Klein is just not Premier League, standard in my. He's a good backup maybe, but you can't be having him playing game in, game out and expect your defense to be completely solid, at least down his side. Yeah, he was a good player once for Liverpool, but I just think he's probably more of a backup kind of veteran style player to be in there just to bulk out the squad a little bit. But defensively, I wouldn't be going near Palace, especially with these fixtures at the moment, and especially with the goalkeeping situation, which we'll see as Palace have bought a new goalkeeper in the transfer market. Now, Palace have made some pretty astute signings in the transfer market, and as we already mentioned, they've brought in a goalkeeper, one that you might be familiar with. It's Sam Johnston, the England international from West Brom. He's come in at 4.5 million, and he was on a free transfer, so he is someone who is actually pretty good at distributing the ball with his feet and also with his hands, and could be the shot stopper that Palace need to play a multitude of roles as a goalkeeper in the modern era. Could improve their playing out from the back, and may not necessarily mean that their reliance on their 2 center backs is just them alone basically, and then Gallagher, who is, as you can see on the slide, and we'll talk about him in just a second, rely on him to basically make things happen. Johnston can play the ball into feet at a fairly successful rate, so he could be someone who is going to allow for Palace to do that, as I know that Vere is going to definitely want to be able to play out from the back when given the opportunity. And then we have Cheket Doucouré. I can't pronounce, is it Chekis Doucouré? I can't pronounce his name, to be honest, but Doucouré is what we'll go with. From Lens in Ligue 1, has come in, and he is going to be the defensive midfielder. He's come around for, I think it's like 20 to 25 million euros or pounds in that bracket, like just a reasonable price mark. Not like the above average midfielder price or like the standard midfielder price of 50 million, as I call it now. He's coming at a reasonable price, and he's probably going to replace the likes of Milivojevic, who is currently the kind of long-standing, veteran, defensive-minded midfielder. And I think Will Hughes is someone who's going to be maybe moved up into the more of the box-to-box or Conor Gallagher role, now that Conor Gallagher has also returned to his parent club. Milivojevic, as one of the outs, we'll just mention him briefly, could be on his way to Fulham for a very nominal fee. And the set piece, kind of thing that he did with penalties and that sort of stuff, I mean, that's going to be taken over by Zaha in pretty much every game for penalties. And for free kicks, it's going to be like Eze, or corners, it's going to be Eze and Elise most likely. And they're going to have to replace somebody for Conor Gallagher, because he was on loan from Chelsea and he has returned, and I believe that Thomas Tuchel is going to integrate him into the side, and he's coming in at 6 million, so maybe one to watch there as well. As we mentioned, Kelly has left on a basically he's left on a free, as it were. He's a free agent at the moment. And lastly is Morgan Gibbs-White from Wolves. He is an attacking midfielder, very young. I think he's only like 21 or 22. He could be a very reasonable buy for Crystal Palace, or at least a loan fee, so that they could bring somebody like him in to fill the hole in that Conor Gallagher role. Again, if Eze is going to be playing that number 10 role, then Gibbs-White could potentially be the backup. Maybe Gibbs-White plays on the left, or Eze plays on the left, and Gibbs-White comes in the number 10 role. Will Hughes can play as more of like the box-to-box, or if they want to do like a double pivot system, because maybe they might transition to a 4-2-3-1 and have Doucouré and Will Hughes as kind of the main pivot and allow the likes of Eze or Gibbs-White to kind of roam free in that number 10 role. Have Elise on one side, Eze or Gibbs-White on the other side, and then have Zaha basically playing as the lone striker. Or maybe they have Zaha out on the left and they have a out-and-out number 9. They can be pretty flexible in that regard. So I think Gibbs-White would be a very good player. Won't necessarily play every game, but if he does and he comes in at a reasonable price, because he's not priced in FPL at the moment as he was on loan to Sheffield United for last season, we could see another very useful midfielder that could come in at around the 5.5 million mark, that if they're playing game in, game out for a very attacking Crystal Palace team, who knows, we might find ourselves another budget midfielder in that bracket. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think Palace need any particular players to help bolster their squad? Me personally, I think they could go with the right back if Nathan Ferguson is just going to be injury prone just indefinitely, basically. And then another potential attacking player that plays out on the wings or in like that attacking midfield role. But let me just think down in the comments below. And that's going to do it for the Crystal Palace Team Watch. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the one place that you need to be tuned into for the upcoming FPL season. It has a wide variety of resources and tools that will help improve your FPL game today. It has a bunch of different members-only articles written by some of the best FPL managers across the globe, heat maps for all the players and positions, as well as player comparison tools, which will help you see side by side who is going to be more effective for your FPL team, fully customizable stats tables powered by Opta stats, and much, much more. Use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to the Fantasy Football Scout members area today. It'll help improve your FPL game. This video has been sponsored by Manscaped, the best in male below the waist grooming. Make sure to check out manscaped.com so you can see the latest and greatest updates to their lawnmower, as well as their performance package, and much, much more for all their gadgets and gizmos to help keep your family jewels looking as shiny as ever. Make sure to use the code FLAME20 so that you can get 20% off your next Manscaped order, as well as free worldwide shipping. Go check out manscaped.com today. And that is going to do it for the Team Watch Crystal Palace edition video. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, and give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which should be back in a couple weeks' time, when the first game week will be upon us very, very soon. The weeks are going to fly by. It's crazy how the season felt like it started, last season not too long ago, but now another one's right around the corner. So we're going to have those streams ready and available exclusively over on Twitch for you. And lastly, make sure to check out Fantasy Football Scout in the description below. There's a link down there that'll take you straight to the members area, which is fantastic. And all the stats you saw on this video were from that members area. It'll help improve your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.